Good evening, YouTubers. Welcome back into another edition of Astros Recap. David Artis back at it Sunday evening, 6:05 p.m., April 14th, 2024. As here we are back at the iHeartMedia studios, so any background noise you hear it now. It's playing on the radio right now, so but we'll recap the week of Astros baseball. Again, a struggle. Now, the Astros actually won final two games this week to take 2 or 3 from the Rangers, so that was really the only good news this week. Got to remember they had that wraparound series, so talked to you back at the house last Sunday with the third of the four-game series, sort of wraparound, weird weekend series. But they did take the final game there. Big news on that Monday game. I mean, they broke out for 10 runs. That was sort of the big story there. But prior to the game, hours before, we heard, Framber Valdez got scratched, and they were bringing up Blair Henley. And Blair Henley's a guy no one had ever heard of. He was just a guy that was floating around in the minors. I think some combination between double and triple A. But that game didn't get off to such a great start with him starting. Our bullpen has already been worked pretty good. Now, Renell Blanco gave him a good start Sunday, but still had to use Presley, Hader. But, I mean, the guys that have really been overworked, people like Brandon Belak and Seth Martinez and Taylor Scott, those are the guys that actually been worked the most. Belak more than the three I just named, but those are the people that feel like they've had to pitch a lot more than you'd want them to, just because, I mean, the starters that were so good the first time around the rotation, it's kind of weird the way this is flipped, and I don't want to get too off topic here, but the starters were good. Now the starters have been bad, and the starters were good, but the bullpen was bad to start the year. Now the starters are bad, and the bullpen's good. So it's sort of flip-flopped from a pitching standpoint. It's felt like, and of course Framber going down. Now I think they avoided a major injury there. Like, it was elbow soreness. Had no real update other than that, but I think Framber is going to start throwing again this week. Maybe as soon as Tuesday, I thought I heard. And he might not even need a rehab assignment if everything goes perfect. So that would be good news. But, I mean, you think about the starting rotation. I mean, you go into the season or into spring training knowing that Garcia and McCullers are out and hope to get them back mid to late July. But, I mean, yeah, spring training, you go in and, Verlander has the issue. J.P. France had some shoulder inflammation, but, was able to recover quickly and get into the rotation for opening day. But also Urquidy's injury and now Valdez's injury. So 5 starters. And 2 of those guys, Verlander and Valdez would be 1 and 2 in the rotation. Or all out. Are all out. So, yeah, it's a tough situation, but you got to find a way to, the Astros had an abundance of starters, not necessarily all great options, but you had a lot of guys, but they didn't feel some sort of urgency or need to go out and overspend for a pitcher. They probably should have when you look back at it now, but Snell was asking for way too much. He wanted $30 million a year. Astros were not willing to go there. But they didn't really try after people like Jordan Montgomery or Michael Lorenzen. I would have been fine with either one of those guys. Like, Lorenzen feels like, to me, an innings eater that you could just pencil in somewhere in the middle of the rotation and just get you a bunch of innings. But the Astros bullpen did get some rest last 2 nights. Things were good. Blanco has been their best starter. The 5th guy in the rotation has been their sort of ace after 3 starts. But he goes 6 solid innings, and then even today, Christian Javier goes 7. So, yeah, bullpen got a little bit of a rest, and hopefully we can sort of continue that now. Going into next week, at least to start, you got Arrighetti tomorrow, and you got Hunter Brown Tuesday. So, hard to know exactly what you're going to get. I mean, Arrighetti's just making his 2nd start, and we'll talk about his 1st start. So, he got called up because Blair Henley was so bad, and he got sent down right after his start on Monday. So, but we won that game because the offense broke out. I mean, they put up 2 early runs. Henley gets one out. I mean, I'm going to pull this up here for you. But his line, this is basically what I'm talking about. The overtaxing of the bullpen. But Blair Henley just, I mean, first 7 pitches were all balls. A few base hits mixed in there. He gets one out, faces like 9-10 hitters, but gives up 5 earned runs, walks 3. ERA, 135. And he got one out. Martinez was huge in that game. He gets the win, but he gets 11 outs, 3 2/3 innings. Only 1 hit, struck out 2, but really saved, or at least bridged some of the gap. Taylor Scott got in 2 solid innings. Brandon Belak 2 solid innings, and then Brian Abreu closed it out. But that was huge. I mean, your bullpen had to cover 26 outs, and they were all pretty flawless. I mean, over 8 2/3 innings, they gave up 4 hits. There was 5 strikeouts and 1 walk. That's what your bullpen gave you. And Seth Martinez has been phenomenal this year. I mean, he doesn't go out there. He's not flashy. Doesn't strike out a lot of people, but he gets outs and really helped throughout the week, just, eating up some innings because the starters couldn't do much. But getting the win and splitting with Texas was pretty big for them at the time. Moved the record to 4-7, still not great. And then this is where all the bad stuff sort of happens. Kansas City, you go up there, sort of owe them some losses after what they did to you last year. The Astros lost 5 of 6 against Kansas City. Now, Kansas City's a pretty good, better team they were last year, but still. I mean, you had a 3-0 lead in the Tuesday game. Jabier pitched pretty well. Things sort of came unraveled a little bit in the 5th, 6th inning for him. The Astros had more opportunities to put a lot more runs than the 3. They still struggle with, hitting with runners in scoring position or just runners on base, period. It's been an issue all year. But let's see if I can pull some things up. Just to give you a quick recap here. So Alvarez, who been getting hot, I didn't even mention he had 2 home runs. Was it 2? They had a lot of hits, and that Monday they scored 10 runs. So I don't like to do that. I'm just going to go back real quick, because I don't want to leave out the scoring of Monday's game because they scored 10 runs. So, but Bregman had an RBI single, Pena RBI fielder's choice. Alvarez had a big 2-run home run, made things closer. Alvarez RBI double, tied the game. Tucker RBI single. Caratini, big 3-run shot that really opened up the game to make things a little less stressful in the late innings. But Caratini's been good from a hitting standpoint, the playing time he's got. So I can't complain there, obviously, offensively. But in the game they lost Tuesday to the Royals, the 3 runs should have been more like 5 or 6 if they could just find a way to score more. It's frustrating. But Javier was the guy I wanted to focus on more so. Javier here. Cole Reagan's for Kansas City, their best pitcher. They actually got to him. They ran the pitch count up. They scored a few runs. But Javier only could get through 5 1/3. And then, things really, 3 runs, 2 of them earned. Bregman single-handedly lost this game with his inability to hit, get runs home with people out there. The error he made, he misplayed a pop-up at third. I mean, Bregman's just been, it's actually been refreshing because he's been sick, so he didn't play any of these games over the weekend. But, Bregman made 4 crucial mistakes in this game. I mean, the one I remember is the Astros had a 3-2 lead, and he made a big error in the 5th inning that brought in the tying run. But, I mean, his inability to hit and his inability to play his position well, which usually plays pretty good third base, but not that game. But Montero came in. The bullpen did an okay job. Montero getting 2 outs to get through the 6th. Abreu solid, okay. 7th, Presley the 8th, Hader the 9th. Got all those guys in there, and they all had pretty solid innings, not allowing any runs. But, some of the walks with Brady and Presley. Yeah, I feel like Brady and Presley just have not been lockdown guys. They've been pretty good getting through their innings unscathed, but they've been giving up runs. Or they've been giving up a lot of traffic around the bases. Even Hader to an extent, but Hader had a clean inning. And then Wander Suero, they're out of options. Like after you had Seth Martinez go 3 2/3 innings the night before. You had Taylor Scott go 2. I think you had Belak in there for 2. Like, you had nobody to really turn to at that point. So Wander Suero, a guy they had just brought up, sort of had to take over the 10th inning as the game went to extras. And after the Astros, of course, couldn't get that run home from second with nobody out, that sort of ghost runner rule. Obviously, Suero was put in a tough spot. First batter, Salvi Perez hits a double to walk it off. And then Wednesday and Thursday, the starters just were awful. Eric Getty actually was pretty good the first 2 innings, although he had to work pretty hard. But the 7-run third really put it out of reach pretty early. I mean, Eric Getty threw 79 pitches, but yeah, that 7-run third inning, all those runs earned, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts. We'll see. Should improve tomorrow as he gets the start, but yeah, first start, not very good. Belak and Mashinsky came in to cover 4 2/3, and Taylor Scott got out. But yeah, down 7-0. I didn't trust our offense to really do much of anything. And I lost the game 11-2. So even the Royals had more tack on runs. And the 2 runs the Astros scored was Yainer Diaz or let's see here. Scoring plays. Yeah, Diaz hit an RBI double, and Abreu had a sac fly. But Abreu's still struggling mightily. Thursday, this was all about how bad and awful Hunter Brown was. Hard to be worse than his start last Friday against Texas, but he outdid himself here. 9 runs in the first inning. So think about this. Blair Henley goes a third of an inning on Monday. Now, Javier pretty good, but still only 5 1/3 Tuesday. Eric Getty goes 3 innings Wednesday, and Hunter Brown gets 2 outs. 2/3 of an inning Thursday. So this is what I'm talking about, the bullpen being taxed. Martinez comes in, 2 1/3. Taylor Scott goes 2 innings. Montero gets an inning. Abreu, Kessinger had to close that game out. Great Kessinger. Actually had a scoreless, clean inning. That's more than whatever he's done with the bat this year. But yeah, that was Hunter Brown's inability. You were down 9-0 after the first inning. He was just completely awful. 16.43 ERA. I have no faith in Hunter Brown at this point. It's only been 3 games, but he's been absolutely murdered in 2 of those. And the Astros put up 3 runs. Yainer Diaz had the 2-run home run. That was sort of the big hit there, but 13-3. And then Friday, once again, J.P. France had been pretty, at least, serviceable the first 2 starts. He struggled here. Big 6-run third. Astros put up a 5-run 7th to make it a little closer, but still 12-8 there. But that 5-run 7th might have, woke him up a little bit, starting to get some hits, big hits with runners on base. But they still lost that game. But to bounce back, Saturday, yesterday, big 7-run 7th, and today the big, more balanced scoring, but 3 runs in the 4th, 3 runs in the 7th, opened things up. So, the last 3 games, scoring 8, 9, and 8 runs over a 3-game span at home, something we haven't seen them do in a long time. So, but last 2 nights was more like it for the Astros, and yeah, they take 2 of 3, so good end of the week, but still went 3-4 over the 7 games. So, and hopefully, our starters, Eric Getty and Hunter Brown, they're going to have big, significant to see what they can do the next 2 days here, because those are the 2 guys in the rotation you don't trust. And I'm not going to bury Eric Getty's in 1 start, but Hunter Brown needs to pick himself up and give them some length on Wednesday But hopefully Arrighetti can give you 5, 6 strong to keep the bullpen out of, I mean, Espada's had a tough job trying to mix and match this bullpen. But he got a little bit of relief these last 2 games. So Javier was great today, 7 strong, only gave up, I think, 2 runs. Yeah, we said Blanco, the 5th guy in the rotation, been their best starter. He's got an ERA under 1. A block after 3 starts. That's been a nice surprise. Hopefully he can keep that going. But yeah, 3 and 4 weeks, so not good. They needed, 6 and 11 is not a good record, but it's better than what it was. That's the way I look at it, and hopefully they can start to reel off some wins. Atlanta's going to be tough, no doubt, but winning the series, and then after that, I haven't even looked that far ahead. After that, off day Thursday, and then they go on the road, play the Nationals. So I don't want to hear things about tough schedule, this, that, the third. But yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of issues, but they look better the last 2 games. So hopefully they can take some of that momentum into the Braves series starting tomorrow night. As far as injuries go, talked about Valdez. We'll have to wait and see how he feels. But I think he's going to pick up and start to throw again Tuesday. If he doesn't need a rehab start, that's big. Because when you need to go out on a rehab assignment and you need at least 2-3 starts, that's another 2-3 weeks. So if he could actually bypass that, that would be very helpful. Verlander had his 2nd rehab start, I think, yesterday. He got clobbered again. But again, I'm more, rehab starts more about trying to feel good, like ramping yourself back up, final step before you get back to the big leagues. So I don't know if he gets one more rehab start or he's ready to come back. I haven't heard an update, but Verlander's close. I would say more like a week, 2 weeks tops. But yeah, hopefully Fromberg can get back here and get Verlander back. That would definitely help us out in the rotation, which is where they need help. So trying to think, we talked about Bregman. He hadn't played for 3 straight games. He's been dealing with, I think, just the flu. But, I mean, he hasn't been playing good baseball anyway, so having Dubon play third base or not Kessinger. Kessinger can't do anything offensively, but Dubon can, and he's been playing third base, I think, the last 2 days. So, and he's had big hits, driving in runs. Trying to think of anything else. I mean, Brady's obviously been terrible. He actually had a double, a single and a double yesterday. I don't think he did much today. But they've been, Caratini's been good with the bat, and they can move Yanner to first and play more Caratini behind the plate. It's a little risky with that being the only 2 catchers, and if you're playing both of them, it kind of puts you in a little bit of a tough spot. If one goes down, God forbid, but it could happen. So, yeah. Altuve's fine. He hit 2 home runs today, so Altuve's been good. I think he retook the team lead. He's got 5 home runs. I think Alvarez has 4. Tucker's been fine. He had a little bit of a rough patch there for a few games, but he picked it back up. He hit 2 home runs Friday, but he drove in some runs yesterday, I remember, so that was good. Chas McCormick was dealing with a hamstring, so another injury. He was out a few days just with a hamstring. I think he pulled, but he was back in the lineup today and did drive in 2 runs, so McCormick's back. Myers still out there, still hanging in there. We'll have to keep an eye on him. And, yeah, that covers most of the positions. Pena's been good. Pena at short's been good. Just circle back there, but I can't be upset with Pena. I feel like he's done a much better job. But, yeah, that's about all I got for you. So recap things. I was going to get into another story about Jim Crane and the fact that I don't think he's doing a very good job playing a GM. But I'm not going to get into that now. If the Astros had lost Saturday and Sunday and were 4-13 or even 5-12, maybe I'd talk about it, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going to bypass that. Plus, I got the news to come up here in about 2-3 minutes, so I got to wrap things up there. But, yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what we get out of our starters next 2 days. Arrighetti and Hunter Brown. Can Hunter and Arrighetti sort of, at least keep us in line for a victory, as the Braves just announced their starter for tomorrow, Darius Vines, 1-0, 3.98, and then they'll face Ronaldo Lopez Tuesday, and Wednesday will be Max Fried. So, yeah. But hopefully next time I talk to you next Sunday, same time, same place here, most likely, unless something weird happens. But hopefully we've got, reinforcements in the rotation. Hopefully the offense is still hitting. They need a winning week here. It's 6 games, so 4-2 is always the goal there. So we'll hope for that. But hopefully we get the people back in the rotation, or if they're not back already, they probably won't be back already, but getting closer. But getting those 2 guys, your top 2 guys, is going to help, obviously. So, yeah, But yeah, I got to get going here. I try to keep these things nice, short, and sweet. Love to hear your thoughts. Section below. Obviously, subscribe. Hit that little bell wherever you can find it there. These podcasts, but every Sunday night, and hopefully we're talking more winning baseball. But sort of salvaging the week with the final 2 days, getting those 2 wins, winning the series, and they won't play the Rangers again until like the last series before the All-Star break, which is like in sometime in June or July. I mean, you just played them 7 times, so that's that. But I mean, they're 4-3 against the Rangers, so they've played them well. Just everybody else they have not. I know they did take a series against Toronto, but yeah, got the Braves and the Nationals. Things really cool off. They have a lot of series. Like the next 4, I think, is all against National League opponents. But hopefully we can take we were able to do here these last 2 games and carry it into next week and get some wins, win the series, and start to improve the record and get back into the mix. Still super early, but, can't bury yourself in April. It's one thing I've always said. But, yeah, we'll wrap things up there. I got to get going here. And we'll talk to you in a week.